Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 22nd May 2017. The first article addressing the court within. It is written in the context of Kulbhushan Jadhav case. But let us have an understanding of Article 36, Article 36 subclause 1, and what is optional protocol, Vienna optional protocol means. The Vienna optional protocol, it authorizes International Court of Justice compulsory jurisdiction over the claims made under Vienna Convention. To be simply stated, under Vienna Convention, the jurisdiction of ICJ is being provided by the optional protocol. So what is Vienna Convention? What are the articles which are relevant over here? That is Article 36 subclause 1. In any country who is a signatory to Vienna Convention, a citizen of another country is kept in captive. The consulate shall be allowed to fulfill its responsibilities. The consulate shall be given free communication and also an opportunity to provide legal aid to that particular individual. That is Article 36 talks about. Article 36 subclause 1, it clearly states that under Vienna Convention, any matter related to consular access, a treaty or convention matters that comes under the jurisdiction of ICJ, International Court of Justice. Now coming to Kulbhushan Jadhav case, there are two arguments here. One is, the Pakistan says it is an espionage case or spy case. So the ICJ has no jurisdiction over it. And the second argument is, India-Pakistan relations are guided by 2008 bilateral agreement. So in this context, it do not come under ICJ. Then India's argument is, there is no explicit statement which prohibits espionage or spy-related issues from ICJ jurisdiction. And 2008 bilateral agreement is over and above the Vienna Convention. It cannot be seen as a substitute to the Vienna Convention. So in this context, let us put some discussion over here in the context, that is how it has happened in the case of United States of America and Germany. There are Lagrand brothers. These were being arrested who are German nationals in United States, Arizona state. So these people, these were not given consular access, and US has violated Vienna Convention. And ICJ has specifically pointed and applied restraint on the US. US went ahead without heeding to ICJ and executed Lagrand brothers. Finally, USA moved out of this optional protocol. So that clearly shows that the countries who not intend to follow the ICJ, they have a choice to make it. And next question is, international arguments or international law, what is ontological argument is the second thing which it is talks about. Is international law is really a law? Then here the article says that we need to move beyond this question. International law is a law, and the question shall be about how best it has to be put for implementation. Next, go to the other article, an opportunity being drained away. You know, today is International Water Day. The topic for discussion this year is wastewater. So what is the definition of wastewater? So any water which is adversely affected in quality by anthropogenic influences and as a result of domestic, industrial, commercial or agricultural activities, we call that as wastewater. Now this wastewater is increasing. What are the reasons? There is growing population, urbanization, economic development, and then agricultural runoff. All these things are increasing the wastewater. If you can use this wastewater, water stress can be reduced. So it is expected that the water stress is bound to increase by 50% by 2030. India is also expected to become a water-starved country. So how wastewater has to be treated? So in this case, generation of wastewater and after the treatment of wastewater, these are the two different stages. You have to decrease the generation and increase the treatment. So reduction of the generation, first thing you need to do is integration at the policy and planning level. The industrial policy, agricultural policies, these need to be integrated into wastewater management. And also community participation with regard to the treatment, that makes a big difference. And further to that, polluter pays principle is a golden principle over here. Any person who is generating the wastewater shall be able to pay for that. And market based mechanisms to deter the increase the generation of wastewater and increase the treatment of wastewater is necessary. For example, we can bring in environmental tax, pollution levies, tradable permit systems. It means if you have treated more wastewater, you can be given certain points which you can trade them on stock exchange. As like Kyoto Protocol market mechanisms are there, we can bring the same for the wastewater too. So these are the various things which the author recommends for. Next is Rouhani's movement. The Rouhani, he has got 57% of the approval in Iran elections. He is the moderate who has won these elections with this particular victory. So in this context, if you take the establishment of Iran, a radical reform cannot be expected. The reason is most of the Iran or else most of the government establishment, it is under the control of the supreme leader. So an incremental reform with popular support can be expected. So let us see the Rouhani's major poll stand. So he has criticized the deep state and also progressive engagement with the world. That's what he has recommended for. So in these circumstances, Iran nuclear deal is his greatest achievement, and it is also in doldrums because Trump considers it as a concession given to Iran. On the other side, unemployment rate is very high. The people are still looking forward for civil liberties, and the second phase of Mr. Rouhani has to promise for these to his citizens. And coal issue. Now, coal block, there are two things we need to understand. How the government system functions, it is a hierarchical system. So there is a screening committee which has been constituted to screen the applications which have come for the coal block allocations. So the screening committee consists of principal secretary and above officers. So you need to submit your application to the section, and it gets processed through the section and it reaches to the screening committee. And screening committee did not go into details, and they have approved with half information. That's what is the allegation. So did they have any financial benefit in this? It has not been clearly proven. So finally Mr. H.C. Gupta is been convicted in the coal block scam, who is known to be an upright officer. So let's understand few things over here. 13.1 subclause D, it brings in presumption of guilt. So under Prevention of Corruption Act, though there is no evidence that a corruption has taken place, it lies on that particular person to prove that he has not been corrupt in this particular case. So obviously there is a presumption of guilt, and this made Mr. Gupta to get convicted. So that's what we need to understand in the context of this article. Let's go to cool down the rhetoric. It is about climate change. Let's talk about the climate change, how it got transformed. Now you know that there was Stockholm Convention in 1972. What was the argument of India in 1972? Indira Gandhi, when she was the Prime Minister, she said poverty is the worst cause of pollution. So it means that if the developing countries, they definitely need concessions under climate change. And the next is Rio conference has come up. In the Rio conference, common but differentiated responsibilities. It means that the developed countries shall take the greater burden as they are historically responsible for emitting greenhouse gases and causing this climate change. And further to that, once Kyoto Protocol has come into existence, and before Kyoto Protocol itself, At the Berlin negotiations, they are called as in 1995, the developed countries started talking about sharing of responsibilities by the developing countries. So, after that, Kyoto Protocol has come into existence, and it also has given differentiated responsibilities to the developed and developing countries. And United States of America was not a signatory to this. And then from Copenhagen, the things have changed towards INDCs. So that is intended nationally determined contributions. It means every country will commit for its emission cuts, and United Nations will just be a supervisory body for these countries. It means UN will not fix any of the emission cuts or financial mechanisms or technology transfer or mitigation mechanisms. It is their respective countries to decide, and UN, once they commit, will monitor and supervise their actions. That is what is the Copenhagen consensus was, and developing countries did not agree. And if you go to Paris conference, India, China, Russia, all the countries, they took to the Copenhagen consensus. They agreed to INDCs. So the Paris conference and INDCs shall come into effect from 2020. And in this case, what is certain at the Paris conference is the emission level shall be stopped below 2 degrees C, and it has to be tried to be reduced to 1.5 degrees C. So this is 1.5 degrees is small inland nations request is. So in this case, India was initially considered as a block in that climate change negotiations. Finally, it has become a positive player in the climate change negotiations. Now, Mr. Trump's rhetoric is going to question this entire work which has been done. So, it has been clear that the alternative fuels has to be raised, and Mr. Trump's, who is a non-believer in climate change, is going to impact and keep the entire earth in peril. That's what is the question over here. Now, the next important article is Gender Equality, the Freedom Struggle Way. You know Satyagraha. The Satyagraha is based on resistance and also civil disobedience. Where did Gandhi get this from? Now, there is a intricate feminization of the India's independence movement. A resistance is one thing women can participate in. And along with that, civil disobedience, it has provided way for women also to take up onto the streets. So here, mother and wife are the motivators for Gandhiji. That is one thing. And the second aspect is Champaran Satyagraha. Gandhiji has exhibited these two. So, educating the masses through the constructive work, which itself is feminization, and he himself not taking the subdivisional magistrate's orders is a civil disobedience. So, in the constructive work, by and large, educated women have engaged. And after that, they also took resistance in the form of civil disobedience, which has led them to, made them to come into public sphere. And the men are also entered into the women's sphere. So, women have come into men's sphere, into the public action, and also they have strongly involved themselves in constructive activity. So the gender roles got exchanged. This is what is the feministic aspect of Gandhiji's Satyagraha. That's what this article says. Here there is another thing that is called paradox of value. What does that mean? Why diamonds cost more than water, though water is essential? Because the supply of the water is much higher. When the water shortage increases, its cost is going to skyrocket much above the diamond. That's what is called paradox of value over here. And the government and the media. So here you need to remember a symbiotic relationship. The government and media, they kind of a symbiotic relationship has to exist, because the media is expected to reflect the public opinion, which shall act as a feedback channel to the government. That is what is the essence you need to understand. And coming to the front page, we'll find permanent solution to Kashmir issue. So, what can be a permanent solution to Kashmir issue? It can be a probable question to you in an interview. But however, it's more a rhetoric rather than a reasoned argument as of now. Now, let's get into the green energy targets are tough, says the official. So, let's understand what are the green energy targets. We want to achieve 175 gigawatts. So, by what time? That is by 2022. So, from what sources? That is by solar, wind, and then biomass. After that, small hydro. Solar 100, wind 60, biomass 10, and small hydro is 5. Among this 100, 40 is supposed to come from rooftop solars. As of now, what is the installed rooftop solar capacity? It is less than 3%. There is a good progress on wind, biomass and small hydro, but no significant progress is found on solar. The major reasons are it is not remunerative for the people. The cost of production of solar energy and the returns which they are getting and the cost they are bearing on it is disproportionate. And rooftops are used for many activities, social gatherings, etc. in India. So that's why the rooftops are not coming into solar installations. So we may miss targets on renewable energies. Defense deals await private firms. Now understand, India aims to create a military industrial complex in India. So it is encouraging the private sector. 1.5 lakh crore of defense deals are going to be offered to the private sector, and it shall act as an harbinger for development of military industrial complex in India. Explain Gorshko cost. So the Gorshko is an aircraft carrier which is being converted into INS Vikramaditya, and price escalation was huge for this. This is being asked to be revealed by Central Information Commission. Now let's get into the world page. So Trump puts the onus on Muslim world to combat terrorism. So it is also again a religion becoming the basis for understanding the terrorism, which is a wrong perspective. And then North Korea fires the mid-range missile. So again, North Korea is defiant, and the Korean peninsula, the tensions are further and further increasing. So economic, diplomatic and the strategic pressure which is being applied by the United States appears not working in this context. These are the articles for today. Thank you very much and all the best. So, all the best. Thank you.